You wake up tired even after 8 hours of sleep. Not physically tired, but mentally drained, like your brain has been running a marathon while you were supposed to be resting. You open your eyes and immediately feel the weight of everything you didn't do yesterday, everything you need to do today, and somehow, everything that might go wrong next week. Before you even get out of bed, you're already exhausted. And the worst part is, you can't explain this to anyone because from the outside, you look fine. You function. You show up. You get things done. But what nobody sees is the price you pay behind the scenes just to appear normal. This is what it's really like to function with an ADHD brain. Not the hyperactive kid who can't sit still in class. Not the stereotype everyone thinks they know. This is the adult version. The invisible one. The one where you've learned to mask so well that even you forget you're struggling until you suddenly can't anymore. You've probably spent your entire life being told you're lazy, unmotivated, or just not trying hard enough. You've internalized those messages so deeply that you don't even question them anymore. When you fail to follow through on something, you assume it's a character flaw. When you can't focus on a task that should be simple, you blame yourself for being weak. When you feel overwhelmed by things other people seem to handle effortlessly, you think there's something fundamentally wrong with who you are as a person. But here's what nobody told you. Your brain is working harder than most people's brains just to do basic things. You're not lazy. You're exhausted from compensating. If this sounds familiar, consider subscribing to this channel and leaving a like. We talk about the real experiences of living with a neurodivergent mind, not the textbook definitions, but the actual day-to-day reality that nobody else seems to understand. Think about how you approach a simple task like answering emails. For most people, it's straightforward. They see the email, they respond, they move on. For you, it's a multi-layered internal battle. First, there's the decision paralysis. Should you respond now or later? If you respond now, you might not say the right thing because you haven't thought it through. If you respond later, you'll forget entirely, or it'll pile up with 17 other emails you meant to answer. So you sit there, frozen, knowing you need to do it, but unable to make yourself start. Minutes pass, maybe hours. The anxiety builds. You feel guilty for not responding. That guilt makes it even harder to start because now it's not just an email. It's a symbol of your failure to do something simple. Eventually, you either force yourself through it with an enormous amount of mental energy, or you avoid it completely and hate yourself for it. That's not laziness. That's your brain struggling with executive function. But because you eventually get it done, because you function, nobody knows how much it cost you. Nobody sees the internal chaos. They just see someone who takes a while to respond to emails, and they make assumptions. Here's where it gets even more complicated. You've learned to create artificial urgency to make yourself function. Deadlines become your external dopamine source. The panic of something being due tomorrow finally gives your brain enough stimulation to focus. So you pull it off. You stay up late, you hyper-focus for hours, you get it done, and it's often good work. People praise you. You feel a brief moment of relief. But inside, you're collapsing. Your nervous system is fried. You've borrowed energy you didn't have, and now you have to pay it back with days of complete exhaustion and brain fog. This is the hidden cost. You look productive, but you're running on fumes. You look capable, but you're held together by anxiety and adrenaline. And the cycle repeats because you never learned another way. You never learned that your brain needs a different approach because nobody told you that you had a different kind of brain to begin with. Let's talk about the guilt. The constant, gnawing guilt that follows you everywhere. You feel guilty for resting because you didn't accomplish enough. You feel guilty for working because you're neglecting other things. You feel guilty for saying no because you should be able to handle more. You feel guilty for saying yes because now you're overwhelmed. There's no winning. Every choice feels wrong because your brain is constantly monitoring all the things you're not doing while you're doing something else. Other people seem to rest without guilt. They finish work and they're done. They enjoy their free time. You finish work and your brain immediately jumps to the next thing you should be doing. Even when you try to relax, you can't fully relax because there's always a background hum of tasks, responsibilities, and unfinished thoughts. It's like having 50 browser tabs open in your mind at all times, and none of them will close. You've probably developed incredibly elaborate systems to cope. Color-coded calendars, detailed planners, apps that remind you to do things, lists everywhere. And sometimes these systems work for a few days, maybe even a few weeks. You feel hopeful. You think maybe this time you've figured it out. But then life happens. One thing throws off the system, and the whole structure collapses. You forget to check the app. The planner gets buried under papers. The calendar becomes overwhelming to look at. And you're back to square one, feeling like a failure because you couldn't maintain something that should be simple. But here's what you need to understand. The system isn't the problem. Your effort isn't the problem. The problem is that you're trying to use neurotypical tools for a neurodivergent brain. It's like trying to run Windows software on a Mac. It's not going to work smoothly no matter how hard you try, not because there's anything wrong with the Mac, but because it's fundamentally designed differently. Your brain doesn't regulate dopamine the way a neurotypical brain does. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter that drives motivation, focus, and the ability to see a task through from start to finish. When your brain doesn't produce or manage dopamine efficiently, everything becomes harder. Not impossible, just harder. You need more stimulation to get started. You need more interest to stay engaged. You need more pressure to push through. And when those things aren't present, your brain simply won't cooperate, no matter how much you want it to. This is why you can spend 6 hours trying to start a work project, but then hyper-focus for 5 hours straight on something you find genuinely interesting. It's not about discipline. It's about dopamine. Your brain will give you infinite focus for things that provide enough stimulation and almost no focus for things that don't, regardless of how important they are. And society tells you that's a moral failing, when in reality, it's a neurological difference. Think about how you experience time. For most people, time is relatively linear and predictable. For you, time is either now or not now. There's no next week. There's no in 2 hours. There's only this exact moment or some vague future that doesn't feel real. This is called time blindness, and it's why you're always running late even though you genuinely intended to be on time. It's why you underestimate how long things take. It's why deadlines sneak up on you. Your brain doesn't process time passing the same way, so you're constantly caught off guard by how much time has actually gone by. And the emotional piece. The emotional intensity that nobody talks about. You don't just feel things. You feel them with your entire body. Rejection doesn't just hurt, it feels devastating. Frustration doesn't just annoy you, it overwhelms your entire system. Excitement doesn't just make you happy, it consumes you. Your emotions don't have a volume dial. They're either off or at maximum intensity. So you've learned to suppress them, to keep them contained, because expressing how you actually feel seems too much for other people to handle. But suppressing emotions takes energy. Enormous amounts of energy. Energy you're already running out of just trying to function. You're not broken. You're not failing at being human. You're operating with a brain that works differently, and you've been judged your entire life by standards that were never designed for you. Every time you forced yourself to focus through sheer willpower, you were working 10 times harder than the person next to you who could just naturally pay attention. Every time you completed something at the last minute, you were using anxiety as a tool because nobody taught you how to access motivation any other way. Every time you smiled and said you were fine while internally falling apart, you were masking to protect yourself from judgment. The cost of all of this is invisible, but it's real. It shows up as chronic fatigue that no amount of sleep fixes. It shows up as burnout that comes out of nowhere even though you weren't doing anything that seemed that hard. It shows up as emotional exhaustion from constantly monitoring yourself, correcting yourself, and pushing yourself to meet expectations that don't account for how your brain works. Here's the shift that changes everything. Once you understand that this isn't a character flaw, once you stop blaming yourself for having a brain that works differently, you can start working with your brain instead of against it. You can stop trying to force yourself into systems that weren't built for you. You can start finding what actually works, even if it looks weird to other people. Maybe that means working in short bursts instead of long stretches. Maybe that means building in movement breaks because your brain thinks better when your body is moving. Maybe that means using timers or background noise, or working at odd hours when your brain is actually alert. You've been fighting yourself for so long, thinking you needed to be fixed. But you don't need fixing. You need understanding. You need strategies that match your actual brain, not the brain you wish you had. You need to stop measuring yourself against people whose brains give them natural access to focus and motivation, and start recognizing the incredible amount of effort you've been putting in just to survive in a world that wasn't designed for you. The hidden cost of functioning with an ADHD brain is that you pay the price in private while the world assumes you're fine. You've been running a race with weights strapped to your legs while everyone else wonders why you're not keeping up. And you've been blaming yourself for being slow instead of recognizing that you're carrying extra weight. But now you know. The exhaustion is real. The struggle is real. And none of it means you're weak, broken, or less than. It means your brain is different, and different doesn't mean defective. It means you've been working harder than anyone realized, including yourself. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to stop fighting who you are and start building a life that actually fits the brain you have. Because you deserve to function without it costing you everything.